Test match rugby is back this weekend, folks. Japan hosting Australia, and it's Eddie. Eddie Jones up against the Aussies. He said he enjoys beating the Aussies. He did it so many times with England. Eddie up against Joe Schmidt. Joe Schmidt's been largely credited with turning around the mess that he was left by Eddie Jones after he jumped ship to go to Japan after that disastrous 2023 Rugby World Cup campaign. But yeah, Eddie likes to beat Australia. He's on the record as saying he did it a fair few times with England. Be sweet for Aussie fans to get a victory over Eddie's Japan, but you'll never hear the end of it if Eddie gets a win. We'll go through the squads, some of the stats, predictions, and you guys can let us know your thoughts. I don't follow Japan a heck of a lot, but I did follow them throughout their entire Pacific Nations Cup campaign, where they played the likes of the States and Canada, Tonga, and ended up losing the final to Fiji. So there's a few guys that I will highlight as guys to potentially look out for this weekend. And if you guys are more familiar with Japanese rugby than me, feel free to let us know some insights from maybe the club game as well, which I certainly haven't seen any of. I do know that the front row for Japan and the reserves for the front row are the same. So he's kept things very steady up front. Kobayashi, Eda, and Takeuchi, same front row. Cornelson and Dearns, the same locks. The only change to the forwards comes in the back row with Gunter coming in at 6. He is probably going to be either the top tackler or second top tackler, depending on how many minutes he plays for Japan, in that number 6 jersey. And then Michael Leach, the veteran, comes in at number 8, which is hard to be disappointed by, but Japan's got some really good number 8s, the likes of Kazuki Himeno, which I haven't seen him play for ages. I'm assuming he's injured because he didn't play in the Pacific Nations Cup at all. And they've got Amato Fakatava, who was one of their top carriers, top try scorers. He is also conspicuous in his absence. But Michael Leach, the veteran, 37-year-old, back in Japanese colours. It's good to see that guy still running out for Japan. In the front row, I would say keep an eye out for the hooker, Hayate Eda. He's a really busy around-the-park player. Like, he's a hooker, but the same way that the Aussies use Angus Bell, the similar way that the Japanese use Eda as that kind of guy to get the carries and get a few tries and whatnot there in the number 2 jersey. And then Warner Dearns, the big rangy lock, he's the captain. He signed for the Hurricanes for a season for next year, so he's really tall, really agile in the air, good try scorer and ball carrier as well, so he is going to be an absolutely key man because he is a proper bit of tall timber in that second row. Backs-wise, the 9-10 combo of Fujiwara and Lee is the same. Lee is a very capable goal kicker, so if the Aussies don't have good discipline, he will certainly be looking to punish. And the midfield has changed with Nakano and Riley. I think Riley missed the Pacific Nations Cup final, which was disappointing because he's really classy. I think it was Billy Proctor for the All Blacks when they played Japan. It was either his debut or maybe second game, starting debut, something like that. Like, Riley skinned him at least once or twice. Like, Riley's a really, really good 13, and the Aussies have changed their midfield, so another one to keep an eye out for Osada and Ishida on the wings, and then the Yazaki, this young 21-year-old. I don't even think he's fully played a professional rugby season yet, but he's been playing in, I think, the university system over in Japan, and Eddie seems to rate him pretty highly, so he is there at fullback. As I mentioned, for the bench, the front rowers are unchanged. Tyler Paul, South African, will get his debut from the bench, the kind of lock loose forward. Costley is there as the other forward. So they've got 3 backs in Fukuda, Lawrence, and Sam Green. Another bit of an Aussie connection there. For the Aussies, they have made a bunch of changes from the team which played the All Blacks a few weeks ago in Perth. Angus Bell is back, and Zane Nongor is the starting tight head. He's had a lot of bench games, but Nongor gets a start, so it'll be interesting to see how he goes up against the Japanese front row. And then Josh Nasser is up from the bench, so it's an all-changed front row. Remember, Slips is retired, so it is going to be more game time for some of the other props, like Gus Bell. Jeremy Williams and Salakai Aloto are the locks. I like that lock and duo. Salakai Aloto, the big lump of a dude, and Jeremy Williams is quite a skilled and high work rate guy, so I look forward to seeing how those guys can operate together. And then a bit of a left field call is Nick Champion de Krebney is not only at number 6, but he's captain. He only had a handful of minutes in the Rugby Championship, but he did play that game against the British and Irish Lions where he was an absolute tackling machine. I don't know what it is about Australians and having tackling machine Lucy's. He's alongside Tizano in the number 7 jersey. So there's a lot of tackles in both of those guys, but yeah, Joe Schmidt did mention that Champion de Krebney is part of the leadership group, so it was a natural progression for him to step through as captain, and Harry Wilson is there on the bench. So if they switch things up, maybe Valentini, who's at number 8, switches to number 6, De Crespigny goes off, Wilson comes on, they can kind of manage that pretty well. But I guess it's also a good chance to build a bit of depth in the leadership as well. The 9-10 combo, interestingly, is Gordon and Edmed, so there's no temptation to chuck Carter Gordon straight in just yet, despite his recall. And then the midfield is all changed because, remember, they've got Ikitau off playing in Europe. I mean, there's a bunch of guys off playing in Europe in there. There's like Tom Hooper and Taniela Tupou, Will Skelton. So they've had to make a few changes here. But yeah, Hunter Paisami gets a crack, and he's alongside Josh Fluke. Josh Fluke up from the bench. I don't think he got any minutes in that last game, did he? But yeah, that's why I mentioned the kind of Dylan Riley connection, because Dylan Riley, barring injury, is pretty much a lock-on selection for Japan in the midfield. So the Paisami-Fluke combo will need to be well connected. Andrew Callaway being back's great at 15 because he had been looking dangerous. I mean, obviously Tom Wright's still injured, which is unfortunate, but Callaway was rolling back the clock with some good games until he got injured. Then Corey Toole, the speedsters, on the right wing. Dylan Peach, after that jaw injury, is back on the left. So yeah, it's a much change, but I think pretty good looking Wallabies team. A lot of these guys, like Callaway, like Peach, these guys are back from injury, and then some of these guys have been given a taste, and they are back in, given a bit more of a crack. Bench-wise, it's Pollard, Ross, and Robertson. So Aiden Ross will get his debut, so congratulations to him. Another dual international in terms of representing Australia and New Zealand. Josh Canham, who I've been excited about for a long time, as a potential guy to step up at test level. He gets another crack. It's not his debut, but he's had very limited opportunities at international level. Harry Wilson, like I mentioned, Ryan Lonergan, Hamish Stewart, and Filippo Dalgunu. Stats-wise, like for the Aussies, the last couple of games, they didn't get the kind of tackle busts, line breaks, and whatnot that they would have liked. What we've seen, like we saw them do it over in South Africa. They didn't get those same kind of numbers against the ABs, and the penalty count was getting high. Yeah, they were topping easily 10 penalties conceded a game, which, as I mentioned, if you've got a team like Japan, who've got a guy like Senshin Lee who can slot threes, is a dangerous one. They'll need to get the discipline better. But for Japan, likewise, like their last couple of games against Tonga and against Fiji, they were missing a few too many tackles. They'd been really good against the States and Canada, missing a few too many one-on-one tackles and like conceding a few too many line breaks. And as I said, most games they have been quite happy to slot a penalty or two. So that combined with the Aussie discipline, I feel like is going to be an interesting one to watch. Japan's never beaten Australia. They've played 6 times. Australia's still got a 100% record against Japan. The last time they played was 2021, when I think both sides were in something of a different position. Japan was still very much in a lot of their 2019 Rugby World Cup guys and even the 2015 Rugby World Cup guys were still in the squad. Like the front row was like Inagaki, they had Labaskakni playing, they had Jiwongu, like all these guys have been shown the door since Eddie Jones came in. He's revamped that whole squad, got rid of a lot, not Michael Leach, but he's gotten rid of a lot of the old guard and brought in a bunch of new players. And I mean, the Wallabies had Quade Cooper playing 10 in that game, Michael Hooper was captain. I mean, they still had Callaway and Valentini and Paisami and whatnot, but it was very much different looking Wallaby squad as well, which won 32-23, which is comfortable enough, but that's not like a massive hiding. Predictions, the bookies have got the Aussies by 24 in this one, that's a pretty decent whack. I think if the Aussies win by 24, they'll be pretty happy. Japan would certainly like to keep that a bit closer, but yeah. It's on at 2:50 local time, which I think for the east coast of Australia is 4:50. And it's a couple of hours later for those of us in New Zealand, but still a very manageable kickoff time. You guys let us know your thoughts. Do you see Eddie getting Japan's first ever win over Australia? Boy, would he love that. Or does Joe get this Wallaby side to exercise some of those old demons and put Eddie's guys to the sword? You guys take care. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already, and I'll talk to you guys again soon.